Hi friends, it's Deanna here, and we are making the Traveler's top today, and this is really exciting. It's a really cool, neat, it's like the sides go down longer. It's a bigger, like, how do you call it? It's not like super tight fitted, it's looser fit, that's what it is. And it's got thumb holes, it's got an option for a pocket, it's got a hood. It's really neat, it's really cute, and I'm excited to make it. So we're gonna make it together. But before we get started, let me remind you of our Fun Fan giveaway of $50 Ellie and Mac gift certificate, and that happens every month. And all you have to do is subscribe to our channel and comment below, and you are entered for our $50 drawing. So go ahead and do that right now. If you're not subscribed, go subscribe, and then comment below and you will be entered. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started again. I'm making the Traveler, and this is an Ellie and Mac pattern. If you don't have it, go get it. You will not regret it. So I already cut out my fabric, and now I can't find my pin tomato cushion thing. But I'm putting one on my front or back. It doesn't matter which one you want to do put down first. So I'm going to put this one down, and then I'm going to grab my other one, front or back, whichever you're putting down. If you put your front first, then your back. And I'm going to put it right on top of it, shoulder seams touching. This is the bottom. Shoulder seams are going to be touching right sides together. So we're going to meet up those shoulder seams right sides together. One shoulder, another shoulder. And honestly, I don't see my tomato anywhere. I have two pins. One pin, two pins. Y'all, where did my tomato go? How could I have lost him? I think I have another one in here. Doesn't have as many pins, but it's got some. Okay, so I'm pinning my shoulder seams, my shoulders, and then I'm going to sew those. So I'm going to sew straight and straight. I'm using my serger because I love to use my serger. It's just easier, I think, with construction. But if you don't have a serger, just some kind of stretch stitch on your sewing machine will do just fine. What I would do, I recommend every time, is to grab a scrap piece of your fabric you'll be using on your project, and try to figure out what stretch stitch works better with whatever fabric you're using. Zigzag stitch, lightning bolt stitch, you know, there's kind of different sizes. And also, honestly, even I do a zigzag stitch, but then I make it a little bit wider because I don't like it. Sometimes a zigzag stitch can be really tight and it starts to crumble your fabric. I like it a little bit wider, so I do that sometimes too. So I'm sewing those shoulders. That was one. I'm gonna sew the other one. All right, now, if you're making pockets, we're gonna move on to prepping that pocket. I am not gonna put a pocket on this because, like, if you look at it, it's this nice print, animal print. And so I want it to be a little bit more dressy, so I'm not going to put a pocket on it. But I'm going to show you how to do it. And actually, if I end up thinking that I want a pocket, then maybe I'll put a pocket on it. I'm not sure. So I've got my outer fabric, and I've got my liner. And I'm putting it right sides together. So they're touching right sides together. And I am going to sew all the way around, only leaving a spot. Right here, I'm leaving like a 2-inch gap. And I like to put my pins kind of standing up. That way I can remember I'm stopping and starting right next to that. Because that way we can turn it around. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and sew all the way around the whole thing, leaving just a gap so we can turn this around. So I'll start right here where I put my first spin. and then I'll go all the way around. At every edge, I kind of just let it go out, go down. Like I just let it slip. And now I'll have like some little tails, and I'm gonna cut them because I'm gonna top stitch the pocket on. So it will be fine. For a smoother, you know, smoother corners, if you want, you can do this with your sewing machine. Sometimes doing it with the sewing machine gives it like sharper corners than doing it with your serger. Okay, so here's my gap. I'm gonna turn my pocket around. How are you doing today? What are you working on? Are you just watching me and working on something else, or are you working on the traveler with me? I haven't made the traveler before, and I've seen it a lot, and I've thought, you know what? I really want to make that because it has kind of like the same shape of the shark bite, and I love the shark bite pattern, but I had never made this one yet. And so I'm like, okay, we need to make it together because I love it. And I love making the older patterns that you don't even haven't really thought about. And then I make them and I'm like, why did I forget about this pattern? Or why didn't I think about this pattern? Right here where the gap is, I'm just folding, see where my hole is? I'm just folding my fabric in that seam allowance and steaming it together. That way when I top stitch it to my top, it will be caught in my top stitch. And don't leave the hole, don't leave that opening on the sides because this is the pocket sides. So let me tell you this now. If you want, because when you top stitch it to your top, you are not going to stitch the pocket entries, where you put your hands in. That's gonna stay unstitched. So if you want to give it more of a uniform look, you can go ahead and top stitch those pocket sides now. That way, when you top stitch everything else, it kind of flows together, if that makes sense. If you don't care and you're like, I don't want to top stitch, you don't have to, but then just know that you'll have top stitching lines around the top and around the bottom, but you won't have them right here at the pockets, okay? So you might want to, if you want to top stitch. Now find which one is your front, and the way that you do that, you're going to see that the front is lower than the back. If you grab at the shoulder seams, you see that your front is lower. And hold on, let me make sure. Okay, and it's shorter. You see that your front is shorter than your back. So that's how you know if you like forgot which one is which. And then I'm just gonna toss it over the edge and use your pattern piece. It's gonna be hard for me to do now because it's a big pattern piece and I'm not situated for doing this. I would do it on the floor. You're gonna mark, so I would cut out the pocket, suggested pocket placement area, cut that out, and you would grab your pocket and you would place it right on top of that suggested pocket area. Okay, obviously it's a little bit smaller than the shape that they give you because you already hemmed it. And then I would pin it. I don't know, I almost feel like it's not gonna be super noticeable, and maybe I'd wanted to put my hands in there or put something. I don't know. You know what? If it comes, push comes to shove, I can do this later once it's all constructed. It's just gonna be harder because this way it's easier because you kind of move everything out of the way if you do it now. But if you do it later, you'll have that back, so you'll have to like fit it into your sewing machine differently or whatever. So anyway, you would pin that on your pocket. Let me do it this way so you can really see it. Okay, so I would pin that on and the markers where they showed you. And then after it's pinned on, you are going to sew top stitch top. And then you're gonna do these sides right here. Start from this angle. Start from right here and go down and then over and then up that little bit. And you'll go back and forth, so you'll stitch on really good. So that's how you attach your pocket. And I'm gonna put it to the side because I still haven't made up my mind. You know, sometimes I have to finish a project and then go back and say, what do I want to add to it? What do I want to do to it? Like I made the So Lovely cardigan for my little niece, and I wasn't sure if I wanted to add snaps to it. So like I'm like, oh, I don't know. And then once I finished it, and I took a picture of it without snaps, and then I took a picture of it with snaps, and I'm like, okay, I definitely want the snaps because I think it looks so much cuter with the snaps. Okay, you see how my shoulder's a little wobbly? You want to make sure that you steam. Look at how wobbly that seam is. That is why the top sometimes looks a little bit wobbly. So you want that seam to go all the same way. If you're going this way, actually I think it flows better this way. Or if you're going this way, it doesn't matter. Just make sure it's all nice and straight, and that changes the look of your seam. Look at how much nicer it looks. I don't know if you can tell, but I can tell. So steaming, it makes a big deal. Okay, so this is my shoulder, and I'm gonna open up that shoulder seam, and this is my arm side, which is straight. Usually, some other tops we sew, it's curved, but this is a dolman style. So it's more straight, kind of like a V, more straight, but like V instead of a curve. If that makes sense. I'm gonna grab my sleeve. It's already in half, so it doesn't really matter because it's kind of, you can see where the tippity top is. We're gonna put that top right at the center where and I found my tomato. It was behind my laptop. Right here at the at the center is the sleeve, and then we're gonna turn it sideways and go down one side. And then I'm gonna turn it the other way, and we're gonna go down this other side. This is a sweater knit fabric, brushed sweater knit fabric. It is delicious. This one came from Olga's Fabric. In case you were wondering, I know I get a lot of questions. What I'm wearing is Discoverer, my favorite pattern. And it is cotton lycra, and this is double brush poly from, I think So English had this pineapple pattern, and I made a dress out of it. Not a dress. Yeah, I made sleeves for a dress. And I had leftover, so I made this one. I think I have a little bit left over, so I'm going to be making some other stuff. I love this pineapple print. So yes, I know that sometimes I get asked that question, and I always kind of forget to tell you, but I always want to tell you. So do you know, just in case you want to get this pattern. It's amazing. I love it. I love the color blocking. And then sometimes when I don't want to color block, I just piece it together and do it all one. In the fit, it's great. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and sew this, and I'm going to do the same to my other sleeve. Raw edges touching, right sides together. I'm doing this sleeve, and I'm gonna do the other sleeve as well. Let's do it. Alrighty. Remember, as you come to that top, you can go ahead and pivot, or you can go off the edge and come back on. Or you can start at the top and go down to one side and then down to the other one. It's up to you. Then you want to steam those seams nice and flat so that they're nice and even on your shoulder. Okay. Next, we're going to go ahead and hem now, and we'll tuck in tails because that will be easier to do the hemming because it goes out the two sides. So it'll be easier for matching the hem. So I'm going to grab my hem, and this is actually a 1/4 inch hem. Usually we do a 1/2 inch hem. We'll do a 1/2 inch hem for the sleeves, but for this bottom, it's a 1/4 inch hem, and it kind of dead ends right here. And I'm just steaming. For hemming, honestly, I just make sure I steam really well. As I'm folding down and pulling, and hemming, I kind of sort of pull the fabric just a little bit to give to make it stretch evenly. I'm trying to think because I know people ask for tricks for hemming, and I don't really have that many tricks. Honestly, I just make sure I pull a little bit, and I make sure I steam it a lot. It's really my biggest trick. then I don't even use that many pins. I don't know. I do have a cheat. So I have, okay, I know that this looks like it's a really wide, not 1/4 inches, because when I cut it, it didn't really fit on my mat. So like the ends I cut with scissors, and so they're really, really jagged. So I'm trying to fix them up. Anyway, I have a cover stitch because I did hate hemming. I know a lot of people hate hemming, but I hated hemming. So I did get a cover stitch. I saved up for it, and I love it. I don't hate hemming anymore. Now, here's a little tip. If you're using a knit, you don't have to hem. If you don't want to, you can leave the hems raw. And I know a lot of people who do that. I've done that before. And actually, this shirt was one of the first things I made a long time ago. And my hem, because it's looser at the bottom, I just did a straight stitch, but I know that it just pops every once in a while. I should go back and fix all my hems, but I haven't. I'm lazy. So, you can use a zigzag stitch. You can use double needle if you have one. I never was able to get one to work. You can use, because it is a looser fit bottom, I will even tell you, you could do a straight stitch. Just make it a little bit wider than the regular. I make it like a 3.5 width, I think is usually 3.5. And then it'd be fine. You know why? Because you're not going to pull at it to stretch. The reason why you don't want to use a straight stitch is because usually tops, when you're putting them on, you need them to stretch a little bit. Now, I won't recommend to do that on your sleeve, even though I did, and it's kind of tight, but it won't stretch at all. And if I pull on it, I can rip it. But on the hem, on the looser fit top like this, I would do it. So, but it is up to you. I have, like I said, a cover stitch, so I'm kind of cheating in the sense that cover stitch makes it so much easier to hem. If you can afford one, I would say it's an investment, and I love it, and I use it always when I'm sewing. All right, hemmed. All right, now that it's hemmed, we're going to go ahead and sew up our sides. I'm gonna cut a little bit right here. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna fold it right sides together, like so. Okay, and I'm gonna open up the side, and I'm going to match up first at the, so now this is another thing that I might do on the ground because it's a long side. So I'm matching up first the armpit seam, and I'm going down the sleeve. Now, before I pin my sleeve, I'm putting it the right sides together. I'm gonna grab my pattern piece for my sleeve, and I'm having right here where it says the thumb hole no sew area. There's a little area right here. I'm gonna pin it, and I'm going to put my pins kind of like I did when we were making the pocket, right side up, straight where that mark is. If you don't want thumb holes, just go straight right through. If you do, mark the areas where you're gonna stop sewing and then continue at the bottom. That way you know exactly where your thumb hole is gonna go. And then I'm gonna go down the side. Keep in mind all the shapes of the sweater. You see how it kind of goes in right here a little bit? So match those up. And then go all the way down. Like I said, this is kind of like a longer thing, so I need to be more, I might need to go down and do it on the ground or something, I don't know. So I'm matching these sides up, the raw edges, all the way down. And I think I pulled it too tight. That's the hardest thing about working with sweater knit, is that if you stretch it, you can stretch it too much, and then it won't be even. So make sure that you match them up at the bottom too. This is where they're gonna come in together right here. Okay, so I'm going to sew this whole side up together raw edges. And I'm gonna do the same for the other side as well. You can start at the bottom, you can start at the top. It is up to you. Oops. It works best when you actually get it caught in there. Remember to remove your pin and go out as you get to that piece where you marked your thumb hole area. And then go back in and finish that bottom area out. Okay, I'm just gonna snip that off. And we're almost done. We can go ahead and turn it and turn it. Okay, the side seam where you came off, you'll have like the little tail of the serger. You're just gonna tuck it in. I usually just tuck it into the seam allowance and do a zigzag stitch over it. And that makes it disappear. That's how I get rid of my tails. Just over my seam allowance. And then I clip it. And that makes it go away. And then we have our point. So what I'm gonna do now is right here where we have the thumb hole, I'm just gonna fold that fabric again, fold it in like we did with our pocket. And you can go back in there and use a zigzag stitch or you top stitch on your machine or whatever you want. You're gonna sew that closed all the way around. So that way, when you put your thumb hole, it doesn't just come up. You can just sew it shut, okay? But don't sew it together because then you'll close it. Sew it around. So on this side and then on this side. And I might just do, like I said, a longer straight stitch. I don't think it needs to be too stretchy. Just my thumb going in there. So it's like I'm just top stitching right there. And then I'm gonna do the other side. I'm just gonna show you. Okay, you went back and forth on there so you can clip these close to the edge. Don't clip the threads off so that it comes off, but I'm just, if you go back and forth, you can just click, you can just snip right to the edge. You can barely see it, but that's where my thumb is gonna go. And then we can go ahead and hem our top. Sorry, I put a cough drop in my mouth because my throat was kind of hurting because it's dry from talking so much. And so then I was like trying to talk, I was like, it's like coming out. Sorry about that. Okay, 1/2 inch. We're doing a 1/2 inch allowance on our sleeve. Seam and hem. But you don't need to watch me hem that. You already watched me hem the other thing. You can go ahead and hem it and then you'll be done. Your sleeve with your thumb hole. Make sure that when you're gonna hem that if it comes close to where you made that thumb hole, make sure it's folded down and close together so that you, so it doesn't gap open. See what I'm saying? You kind of just put them together right there and then sew kind of over it so they're kind of close together so it doesn't just stay open the whole time. Okay, we'll move on to our hood. And we're almost done. Ooh, this is gonna be so pretty. I can already tell. I love the fact that it's like a looser fit. Okay, I'm gonna tell you this little secret. When I was cutting my hood, I didn't have enough of this fabulous fabric to do on the fold. So I just sew that together right there where the fold was. I cut it mirrored and I sewed it together. I know, so now that means I'm gonna have a seam down my neck, but I didn't have enough, and I don't think you can really tell with this fabric, so I'll be fine. But I wanted to use this fabric, so I was like, eh. All right, so now we're meeting right sides together, your hood, and we're gonna pin around the crown, the top of the hood, and we're gonna do that for the liner and the outer, for both of them. We're gonna go ahead and sew the crown together. Okay, so I'm gonna sew that crown together for the outer and the liner. So now that the crowns are sewn together, I'm going to turn one of them right side out and the other one stays inside out. And I am going to fit one into the other. Obviously right side out into inside out. I mean, I guess, yeah, because you want right sides touching. You want the right sides of the hood to be touching. So we're gonna meet right here, meet those raw edges. I'm gonna meet the crown first, the toppity top, and go down the side. Make sure you match those raw edges, right sides together all the way around. Now you might not have a seam right here at the neck. I do because, like I said, I didn't have enough fabric to do it on the fold, so I just grabbed two, mirrored it, sewn the neck. Sewed the neck together. So now I'm gonna go ahead and sew around the face. This is the face, down here is the neck. So we're sewing the face together, and I'm gonna start at the top. Make sure, I haven't told you this on this tutorial yet, I don't think, but make sure your sides, your seams get sewn together. And after you're done, and I didn't even do this, I need to, make sure you look and that it is all sewn together, because a couple of times I haven't looked and I say that because I gave my mom just recently a top and we were out of town, and you probably heard the story already because I've told it before. And she went to put it on, it fit her perfectly. It was amazing, except for the fact that it had a gap on her arm. And it was a big enough gap that you could see it, so she couldn't just wear it. And I was so disappointed, and now I had to mail it to her because we went to a state together, and then we went back to our separate states, so I was so upset because she couldn't take it with her. She couldn't wear it that day. So don't let that be you. Check your seams, especially if it's for somebody else. I was in a hurry. All right, so here we go. All right, so now that we've sewn all the way around the head, we're gonna turn it right side out. So you tuck that liner in just like so. I think this is gonna be super cute. I am super excited about this. Okay, now if you want to, you can go ahead and top stitch. But again, like I said earlier, I want to make this more like a dressier kind of traveler hoodie that I'm gonna wear with like nicer, darker jeans or something like that. So I don't like to top stitch when I'm making something nice like that. I don't like to top stitch very much. I like the straight look. If I'm making something that's gonna be more sporty, just like a regular hoodie, then I will top stitch around the face. But if I'm making something more dressy like this, I don't like to top stitch. So I just steam. And now we're treating this basically as a neckband. So we gotta make sure both the liner and the outer are together, because you're gonna sew both of them onto the top. We got the front and the back. I've got the front and the back so we're gonna match up this back seam right here together. Make sure you, again, match the liner and the outer. And I already got the front because of the fact that I have that seam down the front. But if you don't, you're just gonna put it right there straight, go to the front, mark it, and then match the front and the back together and go to the sides. I like to do like a little snipperoo. And then the other side. The reason why I like to snip is because if for some reason my pin comes off, then I can, I already know where it's at. Okay, and I'm gonna do the same thing for my neck. I'm gonna grab my shoulder seams together. I'm gonna go to the front and mark it. Then I'm gonna go to the back and mark it. And now your shoulder seams are not your middle, your quarters. You gotta match up the front and back and go to the side. And then the same to the other side, because usually your back is higher than your front, and you don't want to have a longer neckband in the back, and then it'll be like really tight up here and then really short back here. So you need to make sure. We're gonna look to see which one's the front. You can tell, obviously the front is shorter. So this is the back right here. I'm gonna turn my hood, I'm gonna turn my top inside out. Let me make sure again. Here's my front, here's my back. Then I'm gonna fit my hood right side out into my top. And I'm gonna match the back with the back seam. Make sure you're matching the right back and front, because you don't wanna sew the hood backwards. I don't know, do you? And match those quarter points that we made. Right sides together. So the right side of the hood touching the right side of your top. All right. So then after you have matched all those up, if you want to, some people like to put more pins. So obviously the top is going to be a little bit bigger than the neck, the hoodie. So you're going to stretch as you sew. I'm going to start at the back. I was making sure that it is the back. And I'm going to place it under my blade. Now remember, you are doing 3 layers. So always make sure that your 3 layers are cut in there and nothing more, nothing less, because you don't want to catch any more underneath it. So then I go to the next quarter point. I grab my fabric with my thumb and my ring finger. And then I use my middle finger, my index, to grab it farther up. So I grab my seam right here and grab my fabric farther up. My pinky just kind of does nothing. And then this hand, I manipulate the fabric to make sure it's doing its thing. And then I go. And then I stop at the seam and go to the next one. Not the seam. I stop at my quarter point and go to the next quarter point. And make sure that my fabric is all nice and even. And I go. Next quarter point, same thing. And I go. We are done, and you can't see it, but I'm going to show you what my looper looks like. This is how much I had left. Here's the end of the thread. There's my sewing machine, my serger right here. This is how much I have left. We did it. Yes, I won. Neck is on. And our traveler is done. Oop, I need my sleeves. I am so in love with this. It is beautiful. It is cozy. This fabric is super soft. I can't wait to wear it. I love it. I love the looser fit. I will take a picture of it and post it so that you can see what it looks like. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I'm gonna go back and finish hemming my other sleeve. Well, hemming my sleeves because I didn't hem it, and then finish this thumb hole on my other sleeve because I didn't do this one. I did the other one. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Please let me know if you have any questions about anything I did. Comment below. Subscribe, comment, share, like. To be entered to our giveaway. Subscribe and comment. And then come check us out at our Facebook or Instagram page, where we have a lot of things that we're creating. We want to see what you're creating. You can see what we're creating. And then also we have sew-alongs on the page that we do we do a week-long sew-along. We take little bits every day. So it's really, really fun. We do giveaways and stuff. So come join us. So yeah, that's all I have for you today. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you all next time. Bye.